Alright, part 387, minimum level of financial responsibility for motor carriers. Subpart A, motor carriers and property. Purpose, scope, applicability, definition, financial responsibility required. Financial responsibility, minimum level, state authority, designation, agent, fiduciaries, forms, violation, penalty, electrical filing, surety, bonds, trust funds, agreements, certificates, insurance, and cancellation. Alright, so part B, motor carriers of passengers, purpose, scope, applicability, definition, financial responsibility required, financial responsibility minimum levels, financial responsibility minimum levels, state authority designation, fiduciaries, forms and violations, and penalty. So part C, surety bonds, policies, insurance, motor carriers, property brokers, surety bond, certificate, insurance, other security, surety bond, certificate, insurance, other security of the protection of the public, minimum limits, security for the protection of the public, minimum limits, combination level vehicles, property brokers, surety bonds, and trust funds, qualifications, self-insurers, other security agreements, bond certificates, issuances, form procedures, issuances, insurances, surety companies. Refusal to accept revocation of federal motor carrier safety administration surety bonds, etc. Fiduciaries, operation in foreign countries, electronic filing surety bonds, trust fund agreement, certificate, insurances, cancelizations, electric filing surety bonds, trust fund agreements, certificates, insurance cancellation. Subpart D, surety bonds, policies, insurance, freight forwarders, definition, general requirements, liability, limits of liability, surety bonds, certificate, insurance, surety companies, insurance and surety companies, qualifications, self-insurance, other securities and agreements, forms and procedures, acceptance, revocation of federal motor carrier safety administration, fiduciaries, electrical filing, surety bond, certificate, insurance, cancellation, electrical filing, surety bond, certificate, insurance, and cancellation. Alright, subpart A, motor carriers of the property, 387.1, purpose of the scope. The subpart prescribes the minimum levels of financial responsibility required for the maintenance of the motor carrier property operating a motor vehicle, the interstate forum, interstate with commerce, for the purpose of the regulation created with additional incentives of the motor carrier to maintain and operate vehicles within safe manner, with the ensure the motor carrier to maintain appropriate level of financial responsibility of the motor vehicles operating on public highway. 3873, applicability. Subpart apply with the for hire per carrier motor carriers operating motor vehicle. Transportation property interstate with the foreign commerce, foreign commercial commerce. The subpart apply with the motor carrier with the operating motor vehicle. The transportation hazard material, hazardous substance for the hazardous waste in interstate and the foreign interstate commerce. Exemption: the rule in which they do not apply with the motor vehicle with a gross vehicle rating. Less than 10,000 pounds with the vehicle does not apply with the vehicle that used in transport according to Division 1, 1, 2, and 1, 3 material. According to Division 2, 3 hazard material A, Division 6, 1 packing group 1 hazard A, or highway route control quantity of the class of the materials defined in Title 49 CFR 173 403 Interstate Foreign Commerce. 2. The rules in this part does not apply with the transportation non-bulk hazardous material substances waste and interstate with the commerce except with the rules in the parts do not apply with the transportation highway route control quantity of the class 7 materials as defined in Title 49 CFR 173 403 with the interstate commerce. Alright, 3875, the definition is even in a subpart accident included with the continuous repeated exposure to the same condition result of the public liability with the insurance insured during their expected or intended bodily injury, meaning the injury of the body, sickness, disease, including death or result of the death resulting from any of these. Cancellation insurance, meaning the withdrawal of the insurance coverage of either the insurer or the insured. Endorsement, meaning the amendment of the insurance policy. Environmental restoration, meaning the restitution loss of the damage of the restriction. Less of damage of the destruction natural resources rising with the accidental discharge, dispersal, release, escape onto and upon the land of the atmosphere, water course body with the water, any commodity transported by a motor carrier that shall include the cost of removal and the cost of necessary measures to take them to minimize and mitigate the damage of the human health, nature, environment, health, and natural environment, fish, shellfish, wildlife. Evidence security means the surety bond of the policy insurance of the appropriate endorsement attached. Final responsibility means the financial service insurance policy surety bond sufficient to satisfy the liability of the set forth in the subpart covering public liability. For hire carriages, meaning the business of the transport for compensation of the good and property involved, meaning the transportation divided as cargo property of the Division 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 of the Division 2, 3 hazard zone A, gases and containment of the system, capacity in excess of 3,500 water gallons in bulk. Division 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 explosives, meaning the transportation of the cargo for any Division 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 materials and quantity. In bulk, Division 2, 3 hazard zone A, Division 6, 1 packing group 1, hazard zone. A. Materials made for the transportation of the cargo. Division 2-3 hazard zone. Division 6-1 packaging group 1 hazard zone materials in any quantity. Or insured and principal meaning for the motor carrier named in policy of the insurance, the surety bond endorsement and notice of the cancellation, also fiduciary such motor carriers, insurance premium meaning for the monetary sum of the insured paid for the insured for the acceptable liability, public liability claims made against insured. Alright, motor carrier means for the for-hire motor carrier for the private motor carrier for the terms include but not limited to the motor carrier agent's officer for the representative of the employee with the responsible for hiring, supervising, training, assigning, and dispatching with the driver of the employee with concern with the installation, inspection, maintenance of the motor vehicle equipment and accessories, property damage means for the damage of the loss of the use of the tangible property, public liability for the body or injury, property damage if they include liability, environmental restoration. State meaning for the state of the United States, state of the United States, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, American Guam, and Northern Marina Islands. 387.7. Financial responsibility required. No motor carrier shall operate with the motor carrier with the obtainment of the effect of the minimum level of financial responsibility set forth in 387.9 with the subpart policy for the insurance, the surety bond with endorsement required with the under this section shall remain in effect continuously until terminated with the cancellation may be the effect of the insured motor carrier given 35 days notice for the writing of the other 35 known days of the commencement the run of the day with the notice of the mail. Proving the mail shall be sufficient proof with the notice. Exemption policy for the insured that surety bonds may be obtained for the finite period of time to cover any lapse of continuous compliance. Exemption: Mexico, domiciled motor carrier they operating solely within the municipality of the United States with the U.S.-Mexico international border within the commercial zone stuff of the municipality certificate of registration issued under 386 MA meet the minimum financial responsibility requirements for the subpart of obtaining insurance coverage in the required amounts for the period of 24 hours longer for the insured meets the requirements 387.11 of the subpart Mexican motor carrier is so insured with the have the available inspection each of the vehicles copy of the following documents: certificate of registration, required insurance endorsement form MCS 90, other insurance identification card, binder, other document issued by an authorized insurer with a specified with both effective date and the expiration of the date, temporary insurance for the coverage authorized to accept and by the exemption. Mexican motor carriers issued insured under the exemption also exempt notice cancellation requirements stated in the form MCS 90 policy insurance. Surety bonds required for the section of the replay for the policy for the insurance of the surety bonds for the liability for the returning of the insurer and the surety as the events of the terminated day shall be considered with having terminated with the effective date of the replacement policy insurement of the surety bonds at the end of the 35th day of the cancellation period required in paragraph B of this section, whichever is sooner. D. Proof of the required financial responsibility maintained with the motor carrier. Principles, place of business. The proof of the proof shall consist of endorsement, motor carrier policies, insurance, public liability under Section 2930 of the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, motor carrier surety bond with public liability under Section 30 of the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, issued or surety by a surety or written decision ordered the authorization Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, authorization motor carrier to insure under 387.309, provided the motor carrier maintains satisfactory safety rating and determined the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration under Part 385 of this chapter. E1. The proof of the minimum level of financial responsibility required for this section shall be considered the public information produced the review of the unreasonable request by the member of the public. Additional, maintaining proof of the financial responsibility as required in paragraph D of this section on the North American domiciled private for-hire motor carrier shall apply evidence financial responsibility with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration according to the requirements of subpart C. All vehicles operated with the United States motor carrier domiciled with the continuity of a foreign country shall be on board with the vehicle legibly copy of the English and proof of the required the financial responsibility of the MCS 90 or MCS 82 used in the motor carrier to comply with the paragraph D of this section. Any motor vehicle in which there is no evidence financial responsibility may be required in paragraph F of this section shall deny entry for the United States. Shows the schedule, limits of public liability. Alright, 387.11. The state authority for the designation agent. The policy insurer the surety bond does not satisfy financial responsibility requirements of part with the less of the insurer of the surety furnished of the policy of the bond. Legally authorized issue for the policy of the bonds issued in each of the state in which for the motor carrier operates. Legally authorized issue such for the policy and bond of the state in which the motor carrier has its principal placed within its domicile with the willing to designate the person upon the process of the issue by under the authority of any of the court having jurisdiction of the subject matter may be served in a proceeding of the law of of equatability brought to into any state which the motor carrier operates, legally authorized to issue the policy and bonds in any of the state of the United States eligibly and access for the surplus lines, insure for the state and the business written and willing to designate the person upon whom the process issued under the authority of any of the court of having jurisdiction subject matter may serve in any proceeding with the law of the equity of the brought in the state in which the motor carrier operates. A Canadian insurance company legally authorized to issue policy for the insurance of the province or the territory of Canada, which Canadian motor carrier has a principal place of business of the domicile and is willing to designate a person upon whom the process by under authority of any of the court having jurisdiction over the subject matter may be served in any of the preceding law or equity brought in by the state which the motor carrier operates. 387.13 fiduciaries cover. The fiduciaries shall be detached to the moment of concession such fiduciaries. Alright, 387.15 forms. Endorsement policies, insurance, illustration 1, surety bonds, illustration 2 may be set, must be informed of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, approve the Office of Management Budget. Endorsement policies, insurance, surety bonds shall be specifically covered thereby under will remain effective continuous until the terminated requiring 38.7 of the shipment subpart with the continuous coverage of the requirement does not apply to the maximum motor carriers insured under 387.7b3 of the subpart. The endorsement and surety bonds shall be issued the exact name of the motor carrier. Illustration 1 illustration 2. The purpose of the agreement between the surety principal of the owner surety of the successor signers of the agree of the responsible for the payment of the final judgment for the principal of the public liability, property damage, environmental restoration liability claim of the sub prescribed herein grown to govern provisions of the following conditions. Governing provisions, section 29, 20, and 30 of the Motor Carrier Act 1980, rules, regulations, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Act, administration conditions, principal intent of the become of the motor carrier property subject to the applicable governing provisions related to financial responsibility protecting the public, the bonds, assuring compliance by principle applicable governing provisions shall inure the benefit of the person or persons recover the final judgment the judgments against the principal of the public liability, property damage, environmental restoration liability claims excluding death, injury, or death of the principal employees while engaged in the course of the employee, loss of the damage and property of the principal, the cargo transported in principal. If every final judgment shall be paid, except for the claims resulting in the neglect of operation, maintenance, and the use of the motor vehicle, the transported subject to the applicable governing provisions, the obligation shall be voided otherwise and remain in full effect. Within the limits described herein, the surety extends of the such loss regardless of whether the motor vehicle are specifically described herein, whether they are occurring on the route of the territory authorized to serve the principal elsewhere or elsewhere below surety on each of the motor vehicles subject to the financial responsibility of the section 2930 of the Motor Carrier Act of 1980 that each event should not exceed the blanket amount of money should be continuing one of the withstanding aim of the recovery there under the surety against agree with the telephone request of the authorized representative of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to verify the surety bond in force of the particular date the telephone number is blank. This bond effective 12:01 a.m. standard time of the address of the principal as stated therein shall continue to enforce of the terminal terminated as described here in the principal of the surety may be any time of the 30 and given in 35 day day notice writing other party and said 35-day notice to commence from the date of the notice of the mail. Proof of mailing shall be sufficient proof of the notice. 2. If the principal subject to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration jurisdiction provide with the 30 days of notice of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration said 30 days notice for the commencement of the day of the notice received by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration as offered to Washington, D.C. The surety and not liable to payment of the judgment again of the principal public liability, property damages, environmental restoration claims and resulting in accidents occurring with the termination of the ponds are described herein, but such termination shall not affect the liability surety of the payment any of the such judgment or judgments resulting in accidents occurring during the time of the bond effects. The surety of the effects dated surety city statement by acknowledgement of surety. And then, alright, 387.17, violation penalty. Any person except any of an employee who acts without knowledge of the knowledge violates the rules of subpart shall be liable to understand with the civil penalty as stated in 386, the pending speed with the chapter, if any of the such violation continuing one of each for the day of the violation constitute with a separate offense of the amount of any of the such penalty assessed by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration by writing a notice of the determined amount of the such penalty administrator or his or her authorized delegate shall take in account of the nature of the circumstance, extent of the gravity of the violation committed with respect to the person found to have committed such violation, agree with the culpability, history of the prior violation, ability to pay, any effect of the ability to continue to do business, such as the other matters justice as may require. All right, 38719, electronic filing, surety bonds, trust funds, agreement, certificates, insurance cancellation, insurance except for hire motor carriers are defined in 390F, 395 of the subchapter of the provided motor carrier transportation hazard material interest state comments for the regulators, Federal Motor Carriers Administration, September 30th, 2016. Certificate is insurance. Surety bonds, other security arrangement, Federal Motor Carriers Administration, April 14th, 2017, ensures all the other exempt for hire motor carriers is defined in 390 5 of the subchapter provided motor carriers transportation has materials for interstate commerce must file certificate insurance surety bonds other security agreements of Federal Motor Carriers Administration time of the application registration. The following must be made electronically in accordance with the requirements of the procedure set forth in 387.323. Requirements of the section do not apply for the motor carriers except in 387.7b3. Subpart B, motor carrier of passengers. Testing.